Thank you. Let me now recognize the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Olszewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ranking Member Bera, and thank you to all of our witnesses today. I appreciate the focus of this hearing, and there's clearly no question that the PRC's control of much of the critical mineral supply chain makes us more vulnerable. And I want to echo Ranking Member Bera's comments about how I really appreciate the ways in which this has become and remains a bipartisan concern. Because it is a serious concern that our largest global competitor supplies more than 50% of demand for 24 critical minerals, including more than 90% of those rare earth elements as discussed. So I think we all agree that the U.S. needs to do more to do this, and I want to thank our witnesses for providing some suggestions in this space. But I also don't want this Congress or this administration to focus so heavily just on competition that we also lose sight and disregard the very real labor and human rights abuses that we know are happening and that are so prevalent across the mineral supply chain, primarily in artisanal and small-scale mines that operate informally and that are least regulated by governments. For example, reports suggest that major Chinese critical mineral producers use forced labor programs in the weaker region. Across the DRC, there are as many as 40,000 child laborers in its cobalt mines. And so sadly, while I applaud some of the actions taken by the administration in this space, some of the tools that are really important in addressing these concerns have actually been taken away by this administration. Just two quick examples. Many of the grant programs within the Department of Labor's Bureau of International Labor Affairs has been cut. We know these are programs that have played a critical role in addressing forced labor and human trafficking across the world. And this administration has also paused enforcement of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which has helped expose corruption in business practices. So I'm a member that believes we need all of the tools at our disposal to strengthen access to critical minerals, but I also believe that goes hand in glove with our responsibility to ensure this is a sector that drives equitable growth, supports local communities, and is not built on the back of exploiting laborers, and especially not exploiting children. So as our president ushers in a more transactional foreign policy, I want to make sure that our investments are also staying aligned with our values. I'll start with you, Mr. Fernandez, in terms of questions. How do we strike that balance? How do we ensure that U.S. efforts to diversify our critical mineral supply chains don't come at the expense of human rights and transparency?
Thank you for your question. Look, there's no conflict here. Good business practices, responsible business practices are our calling card. If you talk to African leaders, they want alternatives. They want alternatives to the PRC. We're not forcing them to do that. They are basically saying to us, we want what they call beneficiation. They want value-added investments, not just mining. They're looking for good labor practices. They complain that the PRC brings their own workers and takes the minerals back home. So they want those kinds of practices. It is our calling card. I've had African leaders get up and give me a hug when I talk to them about what we'd like to do for communities. There are lots of projects around the world that simply don't see the light of day because communities oppose them. They oppose them because of what you mentioned. So I don't see a conflict here. In fact, I see it as a business opportunity. I see it as part of what our offer. Why is our offer better? Yeah. Because we will not engage in the race to the bottom. We will not win a race to the bottom. We will engage in the race to the top. And if we do that, I'll take my chances.
Yeah, good opportunity to both advance American interests, but also do the right thing for humanity. I think I'll have time for one more question, so I'll turn to workforce. We know that over half of the U.S. mining workforce, about 220,000 people, is projected to retire in the next 5 years. As we think about domestic production, we should be concerned about that. We also know the number of mining and mineral engineering programs in the U.S. has dropped from 25 in '82 to 15 in 2023. Very stark contrast to China, which has actually seen an increase in terms of their engineering programs. Senator Manchin, this is an issue you led on in the Senate quite a bit. How do you think we should address the critical talent gap so that Congress is doing all that we can to ensure that we're building a workforce to address the need?
We would encourage you all to pass the Mining Schools Act that we sent over, and I think you all took it under consideration and maybe ran out of time. That's an easy one to pick up and run with right now. which puts us back into the game as far as educating the workforce we're going to need for the future. Let me, if I can just say something about what you had said before. The bottom line is supply and demand. There's a tremendous demand for the products that China is supplying. People really, when push comes to shove, they don't worry a whole lot. They just want that product, and they're paying prices for it. And humans are paying a price, a horrific price. Until we get in the game with our allies in the free world, you're not going to offset that. We have to give an alternative and then protect it with basically tariffs so they can't come and destroy our markets. Then you can put that. But also, we have so many restrictions and obligations that we put on businesses doing business within our sphere of the free world that it makes it more difficult and time-consuming and costly. That's where we have to protect, be more efficient. But the bottom line is supply and demand is what drives it all. But the act that we have, I think you all have that. We're happy to reintroduce it. I think get some of our friends to bring it right back to you all.
Appreciate that. Sounds like we have to get to work. I know I'm over time, so with that, Madam Chair, I yield back. Thank you all.